All right, and since we are a public body, there are a few housekeeping items that we need to go through. So if you'll just bear with us for a moment, we'll do that now. Go ahead, Chair.
So Sean Barrows, West Rutland, on the Rutland TAC chair. So we'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to the approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Boucher. Any additions, deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll entertain a motion on the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion, additions, deletions, corrections?
Guys, this is Dave Atherton. I'm pretty sure I was present at that meeting and I didn't see myself on the list, so.
Yeah, we'll get you added to that and I'll make a note of it.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
I'll entertain a motion on the minutes as
amended.
All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
We'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Oh, to run through the same routine?
I think we can, we'll call the meeting to order, and I think we'll do the minutes and well, we should approve the agenda. So the meeting is called to order. This is the regularly warned, duly scheduled meeting of the Addison County Regional Transportation Advisory Committee. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I think we're good. We can do the minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in the same meeting afterwards, so.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, so let's just get the minutes.
Okay, okay, next item is approval of the tax minutes from
October 20th?
Yeah, the 20th. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it.
Did I accidentally raise my hand? Yeah, that was an accidental raise the hand. I think we're done with our business and we can turn it back over to Rutland. Thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. To begin, I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We're really excited to host this first ever joint TAC meeting with Addison County, dedicated to a very important regional topic, Vermont 22A. Having grown up in Western Rutland County, just minutes away from 22A, I totally understand it's of vital importance to the local towns, the region, and the state. We wanted to hold this meeting to be a forum for the towns so their voices were heard and to give VTrans an opportunity to provide information, updates, and respond to questions any of you might have tonight. That being said, there are quite a few folks on this call, and we understand this is quite an emotional topic with strong feelings, but we ask that everybody please respect each other and follow just a few simple rules and guidelines for virtual meetings. I'm going to share my screen and just go over a couple best practices for virtual meetings so we try to maintain some order today. Please be mindful of your microphone. We ask that since we have a few more folks on it tonight that you please mute yourself when not speaking and try to reduce any background noise. There is a raise hand feature on this platform. We'll show you right where that is in just a second. We ask that you try to use this when available, and if not, try to turn on your camera and raise your hand physically if you're not able to. There's also a chat feature on Microsoft Teams. We'll show you right where that is as well. And given how many people are on tonight, there might be several questions. If you want to use that chat feature to offer a question or a comment, please do so. And then lastly, if you do decide to keep your video on, just try to be cognizant of what you're doing and try not to eat or take a phone call or do anything too distracting. So Microsoft Teams, I know this is new for the Addison folks. Just a couple quick tips and tricks, here are the buttons at the top of your screen. The icons are view participants, so you can see the participant list. The chat box, you can turn on to view it and then access that chat box. There's a raised hand function, which you can turn off and on. There is more options on the 3 buttons, and those are your settings if you're having trouble connecting to a microphone or a camera. You can also change your view as well. The video and mute icons are pretty self-explanatory. And then lastly, the share screen. Hopefully we shouldn't need anybody to share their screen other than the presenters tonight, but that's just a future sort of tidbit there. And we are here to sort of help guide folks through. In the end, if you have a question and you're not being seen or heard, you can speak up, but let's try to use those features. Okay, thank you. So with that, we are going to turn it over to VTrans, and we're actually going to start with the District 3 Project Manager, Rob Faley. Rob, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Good to see you, Rob. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the tax for hosting this meeting. Appreciate the forum, and good evening, everyone. So I don't have any formal presentation, but I'd really just want to talk about kind of where we've been over the past few weeks, some of the activities that you may have seen being done out there on Route 22A. We did have a project, a rut fill project that was out to bid in, I'd say, mid-October. We had heard from the contractors that because summer was so wet that it was going to take a while for them to get out there and do the paving work that we wanted them to do. We had a final date of June 4th to finish the work. And when the most recent accident happened out there, we determined that wasn't an acceptable date. We rejected all bids and we went out again for an emergency bid. And with the condition that this past Wednesday was the first day the contractor had to start work. They actually didn't start until Veterans Day. But so that's Peckham Industries. They're doing a rut fill project. It's about 11.8 miles worth of paving. It's only, counted lane miles. It's not a full width pavement, but it's about a 40-inch where we're taking the ruts out of the road and we're making sure that the surface is not holding water and it's not kind of throwing cars around when the tires catch the rut. So that's the more permanent project. Our folks have been out there for the past 2 weeks. They've already completed their section. We put 1,300 tons of asphalt down with, we rented a paver from Filsco Paving because that had a heated hopper and we knew the temperature restraints that we had this time of year. So we wanted to make sure we put down the best quality product that we could this time of year. We know, it's not the ideal time to put asphalt down. But I just, the end of October, we identified a funding source that was allowing us to do that additional work. So with the Peckham rut fill job was $381,000. Our own forces and Filsco Paving, we spent another $278,000. So it's about $660,000 worth of work out there. I think it's going to be a vast improvement this winter. And, I won't ruin Bruce's message, but hopefully you'll see some more permanent work being done in the spring. But I think this will get us through the winter. And that's all I had. If you want to open up to any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for Rob? We are going to have Bruce speak to that effect. So if you want to hold off for after, Rob will be available to answer questions as well. All right, thank you, Rob. We'll turn it over to.
We do have a question from Dan.
Go ahead.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the work that's done currently that was underway on 22A is just initial work, and then there's going to be more substantial work coming along here shortly?
There will be more substantial work coming in the spring. This is really to get us through the winter. the work we're doing out there now is not going to waste. It's still asphalt that's filling in some of the ruts, so it'll make a better product next year.
It's terrible right now. It's worse. Go down by G&L gas, the gas station in Benson, and drive that road from north to south. You will get tossed left and right. It's in terrible condition. There's multiple spots like that. I went into Buxton the other day and everyone said, did you believe what they just did to the road? They called that improvement. I think you guys got to drive it.
I have been out there. I'll be out there again tomorrow, but I appreciate your feedback.
Okay, let's turn it over to Bruce so we can get a little bit more information on what the plans for 22R AR next year and another overview. Oh, you're muted, Bruce.
Thanks, Devin. Like you said, my name is Bruce Martin. I'm a project manager in the roadway design group, which is under highway safety and design. Highway safety and design is comprised of 3 separate groups: traffic design, my group roadway design, and pavement management, all working on a variety of different projects across the state. Would like to specify, like, we do understand like some of the issues that exist out there and a lot of the safety concerns that are present, and we are actively working to try to resolve those issues. I'm going to share my screen now and get into a little bit of a presentation for you. Hopefully this is working. So the basis of what I want to talk about really is give everybody an overview of really the project delivery process. We know that schedule is on everybody's mind, and I think outlining this delivery process will really show you some of the reasons why it takes a little time to get some of these projects out and constructed. So the project delivery process is comprised of conceptual plans, preliminary plan design, permitting, position, final plans, contract plans, and advertisement. I'm not going to try to dive too deep into the weeds on this because it's very extensive where this really could go. So once I give you the overview of the process, I will let you know what is planned for 22A. We actually have projects planned within the next 5 years, some even more immediate than that, and we'll get into those as well. So for starters, once we do have a project that comes to us, it comes to conceptual plans. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about, being that I work in roadway design, is we work on a lot of large linear reconstruction projects. So a lot of the work that we do, takes in the fact that we are rebuilding roads. If you've driven through US 7 in Pittsburgh recently, that is a project that came through our group, and that's the type of work that we perform. So when we get to conceptual plans, we start with looking at the vertical and horizontal alignment. It's analyzed and evaluated. On 22A, obviously, there are a lot of crest curves being the top of the vertical curve that are substandard. So we are going to be looking at how to improve that situation with some of these projects. And also the horizontal, because we have some sharper curves that do need to be revised as well with the projects we do have planned. And it really gives us a base footprint for what a roadway is going to look like. And once we have the plan set completed, we do is hold a public 502 hearing. And this is when any project needs to go outside of the right of way to obtain rights from property owners. We hold one of these hearings, and it really allows the agency and community to exchange the information. As you all drive these roads more than we do, you see some of the things that we don't. So it really allows the residents to give us their concerns and maybe give some feedback on intersections or issues that we can revise as we advance our design. This also allows us to begin our review under the National Environmental Policy Act, and the NEPA document really looks at the environment as a whole. So we look at our wetlands impacted, streams impacted, our historical properties, archaeologically sensitive areas, animals, threatened and endangered species. It looks into that and looks at what we're proposing and lets us know if there's more extensive studies that needs to begin. Moving on, once we do have the 502 hearing, we are able to move on to preliminary plans. So we take all the concerns from the community and we go back to adjust our design based on the comments from the 502 hearing, what we're hearing from people. It allows us to adjust our vertical and horizontal alignments if needed. We get into a real more in-depth design just to make sure we can get our footprint correct. So our culvert and bridge designs are completed at this time as well. And any permitting requirements are evaluated and designed for large reconstruction projects. That really means like stormwater design, as we are held to quite significant requirements to treat any expansion of projects. We also look at a utility relocation plan, as there are several utility poles along the roadway that need to be moved away as we are widening a roadway itself. And we look at traffic management plan. And this is more how we can try to best handle the traffic during construction. And once we have all that defined, we go out and meet with the property owners. We speak to them about their individual properties, not really a project as a whole, to see what they have concerns with on what we're proposing to their individual properties and make any design modifications that we can that does not impact the safety of the roadway, what we're proposing, or the scope of the roadway itself. And this is all really leading up to the next phase, which is the right-of-way phase. And what we want to do is really have our footprint of what is going to be constructed done at the preliminary phase plan. Going to the right-of-way phase, there are several steps that needs to go through. Plan development. This is the all the design is outlined on plans, and the areas are shown for any easements that we may need, either temporary or permanent, on all parcels along the project itself. Once we have the plan developed, it goes to a legal document preparation, because as we are requiring easements on properties, deeds actually do have to change. And this is drafted at that time, so it can be legally shown what we are proposing to do. Once we have all of these areas determined, we move into the appraisals and waiver valuations. So appraisals are typically done on larger parcels and commercial parcels as well. Waiver valuations are typically done on smaller impacted properties. What they do, both processes go and look at the land use and the land value in the area, and they have a determination based on what type of easement we're looking for, permanent or easement, that they factor into the amount of area based on local property values. And then we take this number, enter into negotiations. Negotiations is just that. We could send an offer and people could be happy with it and sign immediately to allow us to have the rights to work on their property. Others may not. It's kind of a question mark as we advance the project as to what we're going to get into. If we cannot get everybody to sign, we enter into the necessity and condemnation proceedings, which is going to Superior Court. We all explain our views on the project, why we think it's necessary. Property owners are allowed to say why they may not think it's necessary, and the judge makes a determination as to whether saying yes, our project is necessary, and we move forward and either go into a condemnation where we condemn a property and work with compensation after the fact. This is a timely procedure that we hope to avoid during the negotiation process. So following right-of-way phase and kind of concurrently, we will start our final plans development. And this is really just final adjustments, tweaking details. We're not going to adjust the footprint or the design because it's already in the right-of-way phase. Final quantification, special provision, contract language development. And once that is done, checked over, we will go into contract plans, which is really just finalizing our contract documents. And we submit it for proposal preparation. It is advertised through our contract administration group. And we advertise for 3 weeks. And we will review the bids. We will do an analysis to see if the lowest apparent bidder is acceptable, and we will typically award and move on to construction. that is the basis of our process. There's a lot more detail that goes into it. This is kind of a quick rundown. And I'd just like to say that some of the projects that we're going to talk about don't have this significant of a process to go through. And we'll start now just going over these projects now, and you'll see why. So the Haven-Orwell FPAV Paren 61. This is going to start at the Fairhaven Village line and go to the Route 73. I'm just going to switch over to a PDF right now because it's too large to put in PowerPoint. Again, starts at the Village line in Fairhaven and extends north all through Fairhaven, West Haven, Benson, into Orwell to Route 73. And what this really is just a fine mill of 1.5 inches of the pavement that is out there currently, and we repave back 1.5 inches across the entire width. So there's no widening involved. This is just make the pavement surface better for rideability through this section of roadway. This is, like I said, approximately 15 miles long. We will look at centerline rumble strips. They may be installed. Construction for this is actually planned for next year, 2022, due to the fact that 2022, excuse me, due to the fact that we are just paving what is present on the roadway itself. We're not triggering that right-of-way process. So that's one area that can be avoided altogether and save time. And the permitting and NEPA process, as we're not really extending past our pavement structure itself, this is really reduced. It does have to go through and be reviewed, but it's very quick, and that's why we were able to construct it in 2022. Moving on to the widening projects. So we have 3 scheduled right now. We have the West Haven Benson STP 017-1-1 16, the Benson 17-1-17, and Orwell 17-1-18. Going over to the widening projects, so just showing you now where these are located. The West Haven Benson project is going to start approximately 3/4 of a mile north of the intersection of Vermont 22A and Main Road, and it's just south of the Devil's Bowl area. This starting point is really where the shoulders really narrowed down. So we have pretty wide shoulders leading up to this point. We're going to try to continue this from that point on. So this project extends 2.98 miles into Benson. This is to a location that is just over 1 mile south of the intersection of Mill Pond Road. And from that point, the Benson Paren 17 project will begin and extend all the way to the town line of Benson and Orwell. From there, the Orwell Paren 18 project will begin and continue all the way to the intersection of Route 73. These projects are too large and significant to be completed at one time. We're talking about 11 miles worth of roadway here that's being widened. Currently, they're all within the conceptual design phase. We hope to have a 502 hearing scheduled probably in early spring or say late winter for the Benson project, as that is farther along in development. But currently they are scheduled for a 2025 or 2026 advertisement. This is basically showing what we're going to be doing. This is a typical cross section of the roadway for these widening projects. So now that we're looking at probably 24 feet of pavement currently. What we are looking to do is construct 5-foot shoulders and 11-foot travel lanes. So we're going to be going from 24 to 34 feet wide. This will be done by building out the shoulders on both sides, and we will probably be performing an area of just a reclaim in the center portion of the roadway. And that's where we pulverize the pavement and go down around 18 inches and mix the material together with the underlying soils and have a real homogeneous material through there. We can provide strength additives as well to make that pavement structure even stronger. The significant portion of this is the widening. just highlight this blue line. That's the existing grade currently. It does show edge of pavement here, which I think is actually one of the wider portions, as it looks like, because I believe that we do have narrow portions along this roadway itself. Which does give a clear picture that even though we are widening and we do have quite a bit of roadway, this is just showing what our side slopes will be like for the right of way itself. So we're definitely going to be triggering the right of way process. And we're only in conceptual level, so we're not actually seeing anything that would have to do to a utility relocation or a stormwater design. So there are going to be several properties that are going to have much greater impacts outside of the right of way, which could really extend the right of way process that I explained earlier. With that, the project challenges that I see, right of way acquisition is a big one. We're looking at more than 100 parcels along those 3 projects. I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement with everybody, but once we enter into negotiations, I can't guarantee that. I think that, with our property owner contact that we do in preliminary plans and, being involved, throughout the 502 hearing process, hopefully we can meet everybody's needs and come to an agreement that can avoid the necessity condemnation proceedings. But there's a lot of question marks in this, and this is really where our schedule can slip considerably based on how this right-of-way process proceeds. Other challenges, obviously, like I said, the stormwater design for this widening project. We are held under strict stormwater requirements, and adding 10 feet of pavement for projects that are 3-5 miles long. It's significant. It can also trigger Act 250, which has another hearing process that could be involved, and people could contend the environmental aspect that we are proposing. Threatened and endangered species as well. We know that this is a very environmentally sensitive corridor. There are numerous threatened and endangered species of plants, animals, birds throughout the length of this 11-mile project corridor that we are working on. So there are question marks right now that we don't have answers to, but has potential to affect our schedules and make it a delay to get us out there. The next project that was just recently programmed is a paving reclaim project. This will begin basically where the widening project ended, down at the intersection of Vermont 73, 22A, and extend north approximately 20 miles to the intersection of 22A and Route 17. Again, like I said, that's basically pulverizing the asphalt, going down below the subsurface around 18 inches, and mixing everything together to have a homogeneous base, and can add some stabilized additives to make the pavement structure stronger. As this project has just been programmed, there's no typical as to what they're going to be doing for widening for any portions here. They can do some limited widening, but this project won't be triggering as many environmental impacts, and they keep these projects within the right of way, so it should not be impacting right of way proceedings at all. But as I said, this project was just recently advertised, so we just recently programmed, so advertisement is scheduled for 2025 to 2026. So that's really just a brief, a quick rundown of what we do have ahead over the next 5 years. Looking at the FPAV that is going out next year, that is roughly $4 million project. The widening projects, we're looking at probably $22 to $25 million, and the reclaim is probably another $25 million. So there's over $50 million of projects proposed for the next 5 years along 22A. This is just construction costs itself. So that's all I really had to explain. Just wanted to let you know what we are proposing, give you a real idea of why our schedule, why we do it. It does take time to deliver some of these projects. But I will turn this over now. Devin, to you and anybody who has any questions.
Sure. Thank you, Bruce. That was really helpful. Now's our chance for folks to ask questions or pose, comments to Bruce and Rob. So I see we've got David with his hand up. Go ahead, David.
Thank you. So I just have a question in terms of the widening project, or maybe the projects in general. To what extent, and this certainly may be further on in your process, does VTrans engage techniques of green infrastructure in some of your engineering design? And what about landscape? Obviously, you have to go through Act 250 on the right-of-way widening projects, and I know in other previous similar projects, there has been a component that involves some landscape improvements and that type of thing. So I just was asking about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so that would be during our the permitting aspect that I mentioned in the preliminary plan aspect. Typically, landscaping is, like you mentioned, an Act 250 requirement. So if we trigger Act 250, they could have permit requirements for us to install landscaping. If Act 250 is not triggered, we do try to replace what may be taken down as part of the project, but it's also one of the discussions that we have with landowners. We talk to some landowners who want additional landscaping for screening of the roadway itself, and some who don't want any landscaping at all because they don't want to mow around, or for whatever reason they don't want it on their property. So that's something that it's really going to be during the preliminary process where we're talking to property owners, and if anything does come up in Act 250.
Next, we have a question from Jeffrey Nelson. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. Jeff Nelson, TAC delegate from the town of Addison. I wanted to ask about truck volumes, and I know that Vermont is in the process of updating the freight plan. But as I look at that, there's a figure in Technical Memo 1 from May of this year, figure 4.7, which shows truck traffic or truck volumes. And it's interesting because there's no data for 22A on that figure until you get to the town of Addison. And from Addison North, the figure shows truck volume in the range of 500 to 1,000 per day in that green category. And I'm just wondering, all these improvements that VTrans is talking about, which I think make a lot of sense, to what extent are you looking at truck traffic and the impacts of truck traffic on the road, on the safety of the rest of the traveling public, and so forth, as you program these improvements?
I'm not sure I'm going to have a great answer for that. As far as the truck traffic itself, we do know that there is a high percentage of volume here. I know with our pavement design, what we're actually putting down there, we may look to strengthen it based on the amount of trucks we do have down there. So the ruts that do occur won't be occurring anytime soon because of the design that we put together. And that's based on what we are seeing for traffic volumes in the area. And I don't know if you're meaning, are we looking at alternatives to remove trucks from 22A and have them go somewhere else, or if it's just
No, I was just asking about, kind of how in your design and in your planning, you're accommodating the traffic that's already there, because maybe it'll go away or go somewhere else at some point in the future. But for today, it's there, and it seems like it needs to be accommodated safely so that other users of the road are not feeling in danger.
Yeah. And I think that really once we actually get the widening in there now, I mean, you're looking at like 10-foot travel lanes now, and we are going to 11-foot travel lanes, but we're adding that extra shoulder width that will be significant as well. This increases visibility, sight distance all around for all locations throughout the corridor. So I think that will be a huge benefit. And like I said, the pavement design will help the pavement surface and strength of the roadway, and that is taken into account there.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Mike Winslow. Go ahead, Mike.
Takes a second. Okay, we had Karen and then Dan.
Do you have plans at all for a passing area like you do on the southern part in West Haven? But do you have any other places that you're going to put a passing lane in down through there? It's something to consider if you have a big truck on your butt all the way up through. There's no place to pass, even though you're going to widen it to some degree. There, you should consider a passing area.
So are you meaning like a kind of like a truck passing route, like a truck climbing route or something along those lines, like an additional lane?
Yeah, you have one in West Haven going up the hill. I'm just asking if you have another one planned somewheres.
For right now, there is nothing planned for a truck climbing lane or passing lane. It is something that we can look into as we progress the design. But as right now, there's nothing planned. But it's something where we can definitely evaluate.
I mean, I think given the issues that have happened with the trucks and traffic, it's something you should think about.
Okay.
Yep. Dan Redondo from Orwell. Can you explain, are you currently in conceptual planning under contract?
We are developing conceptual plans for the widening projects. Yes.
Developing. All right. So when do you anticipate doing right-of-way negotiations?
I would expect to take preliminary plans and property owner contact a year and a half, possibly, and getting into the right. I'd have it done in a year and a half. And that means like having property owner contact as well, and that's when we could actually start the right-of-way phase. We are looking to try to see if there's anything we can do concurrently, but getting into right-of-way plan development for a project that is 3 miles long or 5 miles long is a significant undertaking in itself. So you're probably looking at 2.5 years before we're getting into negotiations.
I would recommend you speed that up because that's an area that's ripe for delay, as you mentioned earlier. Yep. I don't see why you can't take your conceptual plan of what you're going to widen it, your desired width, and then run that down the length of the road, and then identify property owners. You could have a list of those people in 2 weeks, and then start negotiations on that to introduce it.
Well, in some ways, we've had internal discussions on ways we can accelerate that, but conceptual plans are not taking into account the permitting that I mentioned and the fact that we're going to be designing stormwater infrastructure and moving utility lines farther than they are right now. I mean, right now they're all within our clear zone. So basically, it's an obstruction within our clear zone, which we're trying to remove as we move forward, which is going to be, for this speed, probably 20 feet away from the edge of the travel lane. So all utility poles are going to be moved out as well. And we don't have that in hand right now to go meet with property owners to say these are the full impacts on your property without doing it.
I don't think it's reasonable to expect that they would need full and complete details at this point, but to initiate the contacts at the very least to say, hey, look, we're going to be doing a widening project, and it's very possible that your land is going to be impacted by this project. We would like to begin to incorporate you into the project in terms of keeping you up to date, to find out if you're amenable to negotiation, or is this going to be a thorn in the side 2 years down the line? If you wait 2 years to find that out, we're looking at the 2025 to 2026 timeframe being pushed back significantly.
No, I do understand where you're coming from, and we have had internal conversations on what we can do to expedite this, especially expedite the right-of-way process. But like I mentioned, we're looking to have a 502 hearing in this upcoming winter on the Benson project, and that's really a kickoff to property owners. So they're going to get an idea of what is going to be impacting their property. It's not going to be a full full-scale idea of how we are going to be hitting it, but it will give them an idea that we are widening, you will be affected, and we want to have further conversations. They will all be invited. Anybody that is impacted is invited to that hearing.
Okay. I come to the meeting here tonight with a lot of skepticism in what's going to come ahead of us, and I'd like to have a little bit more faith that things are going to happen. But the reality is that in 2017, this road was surveyed by Dufresne Henry, under contract with you guys, and for 4 years it sat with nothing. And to hear that we're now just into conceptual phase is extremely frustrating. And you know, somebody kicked off the meeting with describing that it's a very emotional topic. My daughter is a classmate, or was a classmate, of the boy who died. My other daughter is also a classmate of the boy who survived that accident. So when I see a time frame that puts out 2025, 2026, and I see some of the process of going through the project from conceptual all the way to final design, I know that stuff takes time. I know that. I was a consultant for a number of years, and I have experienced those delays. I've experienced the ongoing battles that are just part of the process of developing a project. It is a fact that these things take time. So in light of that, you know, my skepticism isn't going to drive the project forward. So what I want to see is some serious safety improvements on the road that can be implemented very quickly. Things like restriping the road. There are passing zones that are currently so short, and yet people want to take advantage of them because they suggest that it's a safe opportunity. There are blind corners that have passing zones designated it. I'd love to see that road restriped. I'd love to see signs put up. I'd like to see 55-mile-per-hour radar signs put up. And I've seen things in writing that say, oh, we can't do this. Oh, we can't do this. I think a lot of stuff that should be done is, or just basically we should be looking at, this is a life-threatening road. And if we let the bureaucratic regulations or standards and procedures dictate how we proceed here, we're going to lose more people. And we're going to lose 2-3 more people by the time 2025 runs around.
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, and there are avenues of this process that I don't like as well, trust me. And we're going to try, like I said, to find ways to speed this up to try to get out there as soon as we can. But we are held by federal and state guidelines, like you mentioned, that somewhat dictates what we can do and how we get to where we want to. But like I mentioned, we are internally talking what we can do to get out there quicker with these widening projects and advance them, because we know the condition and what has been happening out there recently.
Others here? All right, I think we're good, Devin. Thank you.
Yep. Cheryl, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, Cheryl Murray from Benson. I guess I just want to vent a little bit and say, you know, this has been an issue for the people in my town and the other towns here that are represented for years, decades. And it hasn't been addressed. We've been told it's going to be addressed. I can't even tell you how. I don't go to every town meeting, but I have been to at least 4 of them where a representative from the state legislator was asked, where are we on the list? Where are we on the list? And they said 4 or 5 years every time. And that first meeting was probably 25 years ago. I know it's been on radar, but it's not been on anybody's radar that means anything, apparently. And you know, you guys need to understand, and I've got numbers. I just got a 22A corridor analysis that said that there was 0 fatal crashes from Addison to Ferrisburg. And I know for a fact that there was one in Bridport where 4 people died in 2017, and you got zeros here. These numbers that you've got for this road are not right, and they never have been. And it makes it look a lot less dangerous than it actually is. Maybe it's the town's fault. You know, maybe we don't report the way that we should. We have all volunteer fire departments and volunteer people doing this stuff. Everyone would agree, I think, that each of these towns are very small, and we're not substantial voices, but we're done. We're done with having to put up with this. And I think that whoever just spoke, I'm sorry, I don't know who it was, but I agreed with almost with every point that he made, and he obviously travels on this road. You know, anybody who lives on this road and raised kids that drove to Fairhaven or the opposite direction to Middlebury knows how, you know, we used to make our kids go on Stage Road, on a back dirt road, to get to school just to keep them off 22A. It's ridiculous. And there's line of sight issues. There's no rumble strips. You know, the issue about obviously the width. I mean, everybody can see that. But I agree with the striping thing. I've been saying that for years. There's multiple places all the way up that should not be passing lanes, in terms of, maybe it works in the numbers when you look at it and you do your, you know, surveying, and you say, this is how many feet line of sight is, but it's not practical on that road. So somebody needs to do some practical driving on that road and make some changes, if we can, in the intervening couple of years. Because my biggest question is, why aren't we farther along in this timeline? I just don't understand when you show me the first part is conceptual. We're in like item number 2 right now, and this has been an issue for 30 years. And the state has encouraged the truck traffic, and you know, Route 7's been worked on, so you knew there was going to be more trucks here, and it's crazy. If you look at the numbers, the real numbers, I think you'll find that what you guys have been putting out isn't even close to what's been really happening. And so I guess that's my rant. I just want everybody to know that the people in Benson, Orwell, Shoreham, Bridport, I mean, you name them all the way up, we're all really concerned. And it didn't take that accident to make us that way. And I know that the people in the Addison TAC and the people in the Rutland TAC will vouch for that. We've been working on this. A lot of people have been trying, but there's a lot of voices now that need to be heard.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm sorry I can't speak to what happened in the past. All I can say is that we are working on it now. I mean, this was surveyed in 2017. That was when it was in scoping and analyzed. It wasn't even programmed as projects until later than that. But that's when a full environmental review was going on to see what we were going to be impacting as far as threatened and endangered species, and a large significant scoping effort was done in that 2017 timeframe to now. So I know it doesn't look like things are happening because we're not out there widening the road right now. But we do understand that this is a serious issue. Now that these projects are programmed, we are actively working on them to try and resolve the issues that are occurring out there.
And we need enforcement too, which I realize you don't have any control over, but that's another piece of this that I think the Rutland TAC anyway has been doing some work on, and you know, really needs to happen, because people need to slow down on the road. It's not all the road's fault, obviously, but the road makes it easier to have an accident. And I wouldn't want to be a property owner and having those trucks running off into my field twice a year. I mean, there's some fields that have been impacted 6-7 times that I can think of. And those numbers are not reflected on the numbers that I'm seeing. They just aren't.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my piece. And like I said, I hope that the gentleman that talked before about trying to do some stuff concurrently, maybe we can try and get some of that kind of stuff going.
Yep. Agreed.
Involve more than just one department.
Agreed.
Okay,
Thank you, Cheryl.
thank you.
Rob, I see your hand. You can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't know how appropriate it was for me to ask a question, but I know Cheryl and I have exchanged many emails, and she's got some very solid facts on the history of 22A, and I appreciate her perspective. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question to Addison County TAC member. I believe it was Dan. You mentioned the G&L store, and I just want to get a little clarification. Was it northbound or southbound that you saw the problem?
Southbound.
Southbound? And is it at the transition point, or is it the condition of the patch?
The patch.
The whole thing?
The whole thing throws you back and forth, left and right.
Okay. I will check it out tomorrow, but obviously we're not dealing with a perfect profile of road, and I know the contractor is very talented to put that rut fill in, but we're dealing with an imperfect situation, and I'll see if we can make an improvement. We just don't want to make it worse in the meantime. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
One more part of that, Rob. The other thing is that I was going down towards Orwell, and a big tractor trailer came towards me. I was sprayed with all the tar. So it's not staying down. Whatever you're putting down is not staying down. It's loose.
What was it, the actual asphalt, or was it the emulsion that they spray just before the asphalt goes down? Do you know?
I don't know, because I was trying to stay on the road. But I got sprayed with whatever was coming off the road.
Okay.
I was lucky I didn't have a broken window. Let's put it that way.
Okay. And we expect that some of the asphalt we put down is kind of sacrificial because the imperfect shape of the road, we're getting the worst area that's rutted, but the pavement width of the paver is not exact. So we may lose a little bit, like over the crest between the two ruts. So some of it is a little bit sacrificial. We understand that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Bruce or Rob?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one question dealing with the enforcement, and this is information from DMV enforcement, is that they have very limited communication up that whole corridor. So with the broadband extension and all of that stuff, is anything being done to address that specific issue so that we can get more enforcement out there?
I'm guessing that's a question for Ian DeGudis and the traffic safety team. And we could certainly follow up with them. But that is a good point, because I think that is a huge limitation. And we know certainly the local agencies have struggled to communicate in the past. And certainly people on the side of the road as well.
And secondly, to follow up, as far as the utility in the right of way, moving 20 feet off of the travel portion, is that then going to put the utilities out of the VTrans right of way and require that they acquire right of way?
We would be requiring right away as part of our process, because we find that it's faster if we're getting rights for all affected property owners, and we'll just include utility easements as part of that process.
Okay.
Dave, I see you have a question.
Yeah, for some reason my little hand thing's not working here. Bruce, I was listening to you on your right-of-way process, and having just come out of a pretty large one in Brandon where we actually took it on in-house. I think there could be some benefit to VTrans getting a hold of folks locally to assist in right-of-way, not maybe not just handing them the deeds and sending them out to do negotiations, but they have that public connection with the folks that you're going to see. So, I just seeing that when we did it, that folks aren't as standoffish as if you've got someone they know sitting at their table instead of, a bunch of guys with ties from Montpelier. And we did 156 in a year and a half with one condemnation that was dismissed. So, I think there are ways to do it and get it done quicker.
Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. I do know, especially when you're dealing with property owners down there, everybody knows everybody, it seems like. So sometimes that can go a long way. Because my past experiences just tells me that everybody's talking to one another already. So it could be beneficial if they saw somebody that they knew. So thank you for that.
I think keeping your public involved with it, the process, you know, it gives them some connection to it. And, you know, I really think it does go faster. It definitely got rid of a lot of negativity on, you know, our project. And I think it could do the same with that as well.
Okay, thanks.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Devin, I just did want to clarify something because I don't know if I totally brought this up. I mentioned the fact that pavement management is part of highway safety and design. They're actually going to be overseeing the FPAV project, so the one that's going to be going out next year, and then the reclaim from 73 North to Addison. So that's not actually going to be held, you know, with me. I'm going to be overseeing the widening portions, but just for clarity, people can always feel free to reach out to me on anything, and I can get in the right contact. But I'm not going to be overseeing those projects as they go out.
That's really good to know. Thank you, Bruce.
Got one more in Addison.
Go ahead.
Bruce, so with this, the FPAV, when they're going to be doing this and do the reclamation, when they're repaving, they're going to take into account those dips and stuff and get them filled in, correct? So it's a nice smooth pavement.
Yes, for the FPAV, actually the work that Rob and his group has been doing lately is actually going to go a long way, because what they can do is they would shim out or take care of the ruts while they're out there, but that will be a smooth riding thing. It's not going to be as rough as it is currently. So they will take, you know, 1.5 inches out, and if there's any other areas that need a little bit more material, a little bit more cutting, they will take that out as well. So it'll be a smooth transition throughout.
Thank you.
Yeah, see another question from Jeffrey. Go ahead.
Thanks. Bruce and Rob, this may be outside of your area, and I respect that, but I'm just curious if you have any advice for us, either as individual TAC delegates or as TACs as a whole in this region, on things that we could do to be helpful in kind of keeping the pressure on, if you will, to keep these projects moving. And, you know, you've heard some folks talk tonight about, you know, expectations of things happening long ago that really haven't happened. And, you know, obviously this corridor is getting a lot of attention right now. How do we keep the momentum going? And what would you advise us to do to, you know, to let folks know that the western part of the state, this corridor really needs some attention?
That's a good question. Not sure I have a great answer for you, but maybe something that we can do is kind of even provide like quarterly updates or semi-annual updates where I can come in and just kind of let you know where our projects stand, and what kind of phase we're in, you know, at that time, and let you know if I anticipate any of those difficult situations that I mentioned or challenges. And I don't know if that's going to speed up our process, but you know, at least it'll help you all be more informed as to where things are, and that we are continuing to move on this. I mean, like I mentioned, we all know this is a high priority, and we are going to be trying to push to advance this with ways that we may have not have done in the past.
I think that'd be great. I mean, just having folks know what's going on and where there might be impediments and challenges, I think knowledge would go a long way.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's something we could certainly look to coordinate with you on, Bruce, in the upcoming year.
Yep.
Well, great. If there are no other questions, you know, as Bruce mentioned and Rob as well, they are available, and I think Bruce did provide his email. Certainly happy to send out an email to our TAC with their contact information. We really appreciate you guys coming tonight. It certainly shed a lot of light on the project and the sort of complexities, but also really demonstrated that VTrans seems to be quite serious about making some serious upgrades in the short term. So thank you guys, and we'll hope to see you back here, again sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
That's good.
All right. So we just have a couple announcements. Probably we share some, Mike, I imagine. I know our big announcement for us is better roads, better roads, better roads. Winter is coming fast and we really need to get site visits and pictures done sooner than later. And I know with the holidays, December 17th, the due date will be here anytime now. So I know at least for the Rutland region, we would like to see every town apply. Whether we get it or not is, doesn't really matter, but at least we'll get ourselves out there. So please contact me if you're interested. And if I don't hear from you, I'll probably be reaching out to your town to inquire. So that's all I have, Mike. If you have anything, go ahead.
I'll just report to our TAC that I wrote up our announcements for this month and have posted them on the website, so you can see any news and announcements there.
Awesome. Well, everybody, great to connect. I really liked this joint meeting format. Maybe we'll look to do it again because certainly Addison and Rutland share a lot of similarities and a lot of major state routes. So we can bug Bruce on maybe a Route 7 project in the future, or Route 30. But with that, we do have some folks from the public here. Just want to give them an opportunity to bring anything up. If not, okay, great. We are, if Addison's good to adjourn, we are as well. So we'll hand over to the chair.
Entertain a motion to adjourn. So move.
Second.
Motion to
We're
adjourn.
good. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for putting this together.
Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
So long.
Thank you.
Mike,
Thanks, Devin.
ever tell people the value of communications? Jim Gish's work on the bridge. I'll tell